welcome back to the channel. Sorry I'm a bit messy, and it's a bit of a moody lighting setup, but I'm not feeling very well. I did have a big video planned today on tax, as loads of you guys have been asking me about the difference between the investment account and the ISA account. I can't do that today. I just wouldn't be able to do it justice. I've pretty much just woken up from a 3 or 4 day sleep-in session because I've had a ridiculous temperature. When my last video was recorded, I was on like a 2-day lull where I felt really good. I started going back to work, everything, and then it just hit me hard. I have been crushed for the past couple of days and I still don't feel very well at all. So the tax video is probably just gonna have to wait for a couple of days just while I get my head together to do it all properly. In the meantime, I still want to put something up because I like doing this. I like seeing all your comments, they're really interesting. So I just wanted to do a quick portfolio update, and because this week there has been so much news going on, and some quite important news that's made people start thinking that we're at the bottom and we're ready to go up. And I just wanted to have a bit of a quick look just to see if there was any truth to that. Honestly, where I haven't been sleeping for the past 3 days, all I've been doing is looking at coronavirus stuff and checking if I've actually got it. If you ask any of my friends, they'll tell me that, yep, I've got it. I need to wait it out, stay away, isolate, all that sort of stuff. But if you were to ask anyone medical, I think they'd say I've just got the flu. At present, there's no way of actually testing us, and it really leaves us in the air a little bit. But we'll get on to testing in a minute, because it actually comes in quite important in why the stock market has been so volatile this week. Now, having a look at my portfolio, you'll have seen it's increased quite a bit. We're now up to 2,240. That's a mixture of a very steep incline, a 10% gain over the week, which has got everybody saying that the bottom has hit and now we're in the upturn. We'll see if that's true, shall we? The second reason for my portfolio going up is because I don't know, and I wouldn't be able to predict whether we're in the bull market or the bear market right now. So I've got to be as smart as possible, and I've increased my cost averaging by a little bit. Up to now, I really wasn't doing much because I'm saving the most of it for my ISA. But now, while there's so much talk around it being over, I just needed to increase it a little bit. And if I have to straddle the ISA and the investment accounts for a while, I'll just have to do that. I just have to accept that my money is going to be even more dispersed all over the place. Apologies for the softly spoken voice at this point. I bet it's really boring, and congratulations if you've made it even this far into the video. You're the judge of whether this video is interesting. Congrats if you're still on board though. So why did we see this jump, and why do we believe that the bottom is hit and we're back? Well, it's very simple. Quantitative easing kicked in. It's a normal thing that happens in every recession. The government decides to just give money away. Somehow governments can just make money. It's the only part of the financial system that I can't bring myself to understand. All the other complicated stuff, I can see there's like a trajectory that it goes on. You know, even these like AAA rated securities and things like that, and all these bundles and tranches that they put in, I can see what they are, I understand what they are, but I cannot understand how governments can just make money out of thin air. And everyone just accepts it. Everyone just accepts that there's just the mythical Jeremy Corbyn magical money tree. It was there all along. I don't understand it at all. But anyway, both the UK and the US released their quantitative easing packages. The UK offered out 57 billion, and most of it has gone to workers. It's gone to pay 80% of everyone's salary for like the next 3 months. And that is a really cool package for everyone who's out of work right now. The Americans have released a $2 trillion stimulus package. Most of that is still going to the workers, but 500 billion has gone into liquidity. Now, liquidity is just the printing of money. And this liquidity has most likely been pumped in by the US government into shares. And on the day where the Dow Jones raised by 10-13%, something like that, it's most likely that on that day the US government or the US Treasury Reserve, I know you're supposed to keep them separate, on that day all that liquidity went straight into buying up shares in companies at risk in the Dow Jones. That would have pushed the share prices up massively, which is what I think we saw on that day. What that's designed to do is kickstart everyone else's greed and start buying again. And actually today we've seen a 4% drop again. So I don't think people are ready for it. And the truth is, everyone over there is still in lockdown and the number of cases is really rising. Now I know I don't want to get in too deep because I know this can be really boring, but I've been sitting in my bed for 3 days doing nothing but research and Googling, and I've found some interesting stats. Here in the UK, we're really scared. We don't have nearly as many cases as the US. The US today announced that it had the most cases of coronavirus confirmations in the world. It's quite strange because the UK's had it a lot longer and it's only got 11,000 cases. In comparison to the US's 82,000. Donald Trump puts this down to extra testing, even though the US apparently hasn't been doing very much testing. Donald Trump says you can't trust China's numbers, which has made China really angry. And to be fair, there's no reason we can trust America's numbers either. In the UK today, we've had over 11,500 confirmed cases and only 500 odd deaths. That's a death rate of 4.9%. Sorry, I'm not here to scare you. It's just shit I've been reading up. But in the US, they've got 82,000 confirmed cases, but only around 1,000 deaths. That's actually only a death rate of 1.9%. Two reasons for that. Donald Trump's right. Donald Trump has been testing every fucker and it's lowered the rate. That's really positive for the general public and really good news for people who are absolutely shit scared at the moment. This would be really positive for the economic market as well. So this little rise might be something to do with that. It just seems really odd that the US's numbers are so much lower than every other country in the world. That bit is politics, and I really want to stay away from politics. I just want to look at why we might be at the bottom. The truth is, no one can predict it. They can't predict what's going on with this virus, and they can't predict what's going to happen to the stock market. What we do know is the Prime Minister got it today. Somehow he's been tested straight away, and all of us NHS workers ain't getting tested. And in the UK, we are still putting together plans for some big numbers coming our way. That's just some of the key information for me as to why I've made my decision on what I'm going to do. Midweek, I panicked a little bit and I started upping my averaging, particularly in the US companies. I started putting in a little bit more because I didn't want to miss out. After today's drop and some of the shit Donald Trump's been saying, I feel like it might have been a bit inflated and we might not be on the up yet. So I might still have a little bit of time to get stuff into my ISA. My aim is to wait for Monday now, see which direction it goes, and then act upon that information. Right, portfolio update. If you're still watching at this point, fucking well done, because I haven't got a clue if any of what I just recorded is worth it. I'm still a little bit confused from the fever, so I can't really tell at the moment. I've also made some seriously weird decisions this week. A little bit emotional, maybe a little bit fever driven, but we'll go through the notifications and we'll have a look. Okay, so, wow, I didn't even realize I bought some of these. Okay, so it looks like I've bought Microsoft. I was happy to buy Microsoft. I'm even buying half shares at the moment. I'm not a fractional buyer. I'm really OCD with things, so I just kind of like to buy one. And I've bought half in Microsoft, Facebook, Johnson & Johnson and Walt Disney. So Facebook, I just see it as a growth stock. I see everybody on Facebook at the moment sharing their coronavirus stories, being in front of all those adverts. I just see Facebook continuing to grow, at least to back up where it was, at least in the short term anyway. So I'll just cash in when that comes back. Johnson & Johnson is a dividend company. I will get to one share as soon as I see what happens on Monday. Microsoft, I must be on 2 shares. I'll have a look. Walt Disney, half a share. You know what I think I did? I think I set myself a limit of something like £200 a day to cost average, and I wanted shares in everything. So I spread my £200 over a few different American shares because that was where the action was at. Scrolling down, we have invite a friend. Oh yeah, thank you this week because I've had 6 free shares from 6 people signing up. That's awesome. That's the biggest haul of free shares that I've had since I started, so that's really cool. It does go to show that there's a lot of people out there willing to invest. If little old me has encouraged 6 people to get involved in investing this week, then there must be so many more people out there looking to invest. And I think it's really positive that people are starting to make better choices with their money. I really couldn't believe when I counted up this morning that there was 6 free shares. It's really helpful. It's really encouraging to keep making videos. These videos aren't easy to make. I spend a lot of hours putting them together and editing and doing all the research. So it's really nice of you to sign up and use the link. I know you don't have to. I know you can just do it the normal way, but it's really great that you do. Obviously, I'll just put it in there right now. If you use my link in the description below and sign up, we both get a free share. So yeah, a couple more buys earlier in the week with Shell and AstraZeneca, and a couple more in the American market. The buy from Microsoft was mine. Hewlett Packard, I think that was a promotional one. Yes, it was. Invesco I was messing around with. I made about £1.10 off it or something. The Invesco buy is a little bit of evidence of my panicking. I saw that jump earlier in the week and I needed to get on a good ETF, so I chose the Invesco one. I immediately regretted the decision because it started to go down again. I think it hiked up a little bit later and I became a day trader. I think I made about £1.10 before I sold it. So I was very, very lucky. But yeah, I really panicked and got emotional. I just bought an index straight away. Oh God, it's everything you're not supposed to do, isn't it? National Grid, invite a friend. National Grid, invite a friend. Thank you, thank you. A little bit more of Shell, and another National Grid, another National Grid. I get a lot of National Grid in my free shares. It's not a bad thing because National Grid are a company that I would invest in and I probably will buy some more shares in. I think they're going to go in the right direction. It's just great that they're coming in for free. Again, thank you very much. So after all that, let's just have a quick look at the portfolio. I'm not going to go down and list every single one off, but things are starting to look in the green a little bit because I'm cost averaging down. Just before I have a quick look over my portfolio, I just want to show you a really good example of people getting really scared when some bad news comes out, or any news comes out really. And what I need to point out here is it's not the general public selling these shares, it's fund managers with all their fucking billions in these funds. They're selling these shares, and I'll show you now a really good example on it based on any news. So if we go to my FTSE 100 ETF, and we have some insiders right at the start of the day here. I can't really get over that far because my mobile phone doesn't allow me to go to those corners. That morning we had some insider information. I know it's illegal, but let's face it, there are people out there trading information and they're just not getting arrested for it. So somebody knew something this morning and the FTSE 100 dropped. And it continued to drop because people started getting scared. It continued and continued and continued. And then we saw a further drop at 3 o'clock. That's the moment when Boris Johnson announced that he had coronavirus. And you can see the little dip that it caused. And that's just fund managers getting fucking scared. And then it picked up straight after because the news was pretty much irrelevant. The guy's all right, and he's going to be back. He's just in isolation for a bit. It's just a weird thing that happens in the stock market based on any information and all speculation. Yeah, just a bit of interesting info for you. Portfolio is up about 10% from what it was last week. That's neither good news nor bad news to me. It's kind of irrelevant because it's not back up to normal and it's not going down. Still, most of my shares are in the red. I think that's just accepted at this point. We're just living in a time when everything is just a bit shit. As you can see, I for some reason bought Facebook there. We'll see how that goes. I'm probably going to make that a 1 full share soon. Just because I don't like seeing 0.5 of a share. Sainsbury's is doing surprisingly well and I don't know why. I can't figure it out. I've looked at all the news outlets, I've looked at everything. I can't understand why Sainsbury's is doing so well, because even Tesco and Asda and all that sort of stuff, they're not even doing that well. Sainsbury's just seems to be doing really well. I have no idea why. Johnson & Johnson, I need a full share in that as soon as possible. And Microsoft, I've made up 2 shares. That's already down. Is what it is. I've added a little bit more to Shell. I can remember right at the start that I was really against Shell. Having a look at their strategy and their fundamentals has really got me confident in them. They are leaning more towards electric. They're really into their electric cars and things like that. And because of that dividend safety, I'm actually quite happy to buy a few shares in them. I'm going to keep it all even. There's no way it's going to stick its nose out in front of any of the other good dividend paying stocks. It's going to just stay there and hopefully it's going to do its job. And then finally we come down to Walt Disney. I've invested in Walt Disney twice this week. I've bought some shares in it, and I've also bought Disney Plus for myself and my kid. It's actually really good value. You get lots and lots of really good stuff in there for quite cheap. I think it was like 50 quid for the year. From a fundamental level, if you just started investing, just invest in companies that you're using. And actually Disney Plus has been really helpful in keeping my kid busy over the past few days while he's been a bit ill. It's really kept his attention. We've been watching Toy Story all day today. And I don't think Netflix or Now TV is able to keep up with that. I don't feel like they've got the right amount of kids programs or the best kids programs that are out there. Disney Plus is way ahead of the curve on that one. So that's my portfolio for this week. There's been quite a bit of new investments in there, so you can see where I've wavered a little bit, but it's still going to stick with my strategy. I'm still going to cost average in, and as soon as April 6th comes around, I'm going to look at the ISA. Hopefully there's going to be a tax video coming out when I feel a little better. And just to add a little bit more time to this video, I just want to leave you with this stat. I've been lying in bed for 3 days wondering if I've got fucking coronavirus or not. It's been hard because this fever has been horrible. It really did keep me in my bed. I couldn't walk, I couldn't balance. It's possible that I just had the flu, but I must admit, when I had it and I wasn't thinking straight, it was really scary. I can keep my head together in quite a few stressful situations. So when I was approached with this, I did have little flutters. The news media just didn't help, of constant bombardment of new deaths and who's died and how young they are and how many comorbidities they had. Because you're watching it as a relatively healthy 30-year-old going, fuck, I can die of this. But just a stat that I just want to leave you with is that right now, around the world, there's 590,000 confirmed cases. And of that, 132,000 have fully recovered. And 408,000, that's 95% of them, have absolutely mild cases. Okay, that was a little bit too deep. Sorry about that. I don't think that's going to make it into the final cut of this. Most of this is going to get trimmed as it is. Thank you very much for watching. If you made it this far into the video, you're a fucking god. It's there's no way that anyone's made it to the end of this video. Thank you very much. If this was entertaining to you, please like and subscribe. See you later.